it takes about a year for each book to get it written and get it together. And so I think I have 13 more years of writing before I get through all 20 regions.
I'm Wendy Holloway, and this is Flavor of Italy, sharing the very best of Italian food and wine, lifestyle, and culture. This is Wendy Holloway with Flavor of Italy, and today I'm here with Katerina Ferrara. And Katerina does a bunch of Italy travel books, and she has a series of ultimate festivals and travel guide books. I'm holding up this one from Puglia, and you see it's a real massive thing. And it's got all kinds of stuff, including photographs. Of course, you all know that I live in Rome, and I have this one too, the Travel Italy series, book 3, which is Rome and Beyond. So anyone traveling to Rome, this is a good one to look at. And again, it's got not just festival information, which is wonderful, but dining recommendations based on the area, all kinds of stuff, logistics, like getting around by train. So these are books you'll want to get your hands on. And when Katerina sent some of them along, I'm like, oh yeah, we definitely have to chat. So
thank you so much.
So first of all, tell me a little bit about you, Katerina, and you're American. And
yes,
where are you from in the United States, and how did you end up on this big Italy travel business page?
Certainly. So I know you're from Pittsburgh. I was born in the Chicagoland area, as well as my parents. I've got 4 grandparents from 4 different European countries that met in the melting pot. That is Chicago. And so I try to keep up my Italian language, since I'm not in Italy all the time, using TV. And every morning I watch a TV show called Di Buon Mattino. It's on TV 2000. And every single day they're at a different festival or sagra. And so many years ago, I said to my husband, we are going to start including these in our travels. And the first one I wanted to go to was the Infuriata of Noto, which you probably know is a very famous flower art festival. I said, I have to see this thing in person. We're going to Sicily for this festival. Oh, and by the way, there's 3 more in the 3 weeks we're going to be there, because there are so many festivals in sagre throughout Italy. And once I did that, I was hooked. But I thought it was very hard. If you don't speak Italian, it's very hard to figure out when the festival is, what days it's held on, what happens at the festival. And so I decided that I needed to document these Italian festivals. Some of them have been happening for 1700 years, and they're not documented anywhere. And the local sites are on the Comune website, which is in Italian. And so I decided I wanted to create a document to document by region all of their most important festivals. Then for our travels, I need a walking tour organized. I need to know what the accommodation options are. I need to know, can we take a train? Do we have to rent a car? I want to know the restaurant recommendations. And so I thought, I'm just going to put it together. I'll do the festival history, the town history, and then create everything a traveler would need to go to that town, enjoy the sites, and enjoy the festival without having to do 60 websites worth of research to figure out what's happening. And it is such a joyful way to travel, because this is when the town is at its most vibrant. All of the locals come back to town for this special event each year.
They're a lot of fun. A lot of times I avoid them actually on the festival days because it's so crowded, hard to find parking, and a big line to get to the food and stuff. But there's usually quite a few days of things going on. You might want to focus on one thing or another.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of the festivals, it might just be the weekend, or it could be 9 days with the major event at the end. Certainly there are festivals that are more famous than others. If you go to the Festival of Sant'Agata in Catania, you're looking at over 1 million people. But most of these sagre are in small towns. It's the way the local community has some income, maybe to improve a school. And it's a really unique time to visit the town. And they're not always very crowded. They're not always 1 million people in town.
I wanted to ask you, you must have been to the festival in Diamante in Calabria, the hot pepper festival.
No, I haven't been. I haven't done the Calabria book yet, so I haven't been. Have you been?
Yes, we've been going to Diamante for many years, and this is definitely something to include in a Calabria book. But it's, I think, the biggest hot pepper pepperoncino festival perhaps in the world, and people come from all over the world, and they just have everything imaginable going on there. And the other thing about this town, Diamante, which is translated into diamond in English, is that it's famous for the paintings and the murals on the walls. So it's just filled with that. It's really a jewel to visit. So definitely add that on your list.
Yes, I will. But you brought up a good point, and that is the food festival isn't just food. There could be a historic reenactment. There's tamburi, the drummers, the bands moving around town. There might be people in medieval dress. So it's not just a fish festival. It's the town's most important day of the year. And this is perhaps a centuries old tradition that most tourists don't get to witness. And so it's a really incredible time to visit.
To the patron saint of the town.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of religious festivals. There's important jazz festivals, music festivals, art festivals, and of course the food festivals. One of the things about the food festivals that's really important for these towns is this is their local agriculture. And so in Italy, they would say 0 chilometro, which means it's local food. A lot of times these festivals aren't on a set date because it's about when the olives are ripe on the trees or the strawberries are ripe in the fields. And that's a really interesting way to celebrate with them their local agricultural tradition. Yeah, or even rain. If they have a very important saint statue that they're going to take out to procession around the town, they can't take it out in the rain. It's 500 years old and made of paper, so they'll move it to a different weekend. So yes, things can definitely move.
There's a town that's 2 towns north of my town called Morlupo, which is North Rome, and that's the sausage festival. So they just cook all these sausages for days. I can't even tell you how many sausages. But if it's pouring rain, that really impacts how that whole thing happens. What are some of your favorite ones?
So let's start near Rome. There's an area southeast of Rome called the Castelli Romani that I know you know well. This is a collection of 17 hill towns that are scattered across the volcanic hills of the Alban countryside. And for over 2,000 years, the Romans have used this as their escape. You'll see that the Pope's summer villa is there at Castel Gandolfo. Ancient Roman emperors had villas here to get out of the heat of Rome and get into the cooler air. There's beautiful lakes here. There are volcanic lakes, very beautiful, clear lakes. And you're looking at about 30 to 40 minutes outside of Rome, so not too far. But it is a totally different life out here in the Castelli Romani. And the first town I want to visit is a little town called Nemi. And Nemi is known for
wonderful with the sunken boat.
Yes, it's got a Roman Caligula, hobby out here. It's famous for its wild strawberry festival overlooking its volcanic lake, Lake Nemi. And we'll also talk about Aricia, which is very famous for porchetta. And so those are 2 of the towns here, but there are many festivals, obviously, in the Castelli Romani and Peach Festival.
There's an expression in the Rome area that if you get, I think they say even in English, oh, I'm just going to jump off a bridge.
Yes, that's Aricia. Yeah.
Well, they say that about the Aricia Bridge. I'm going to go jump off the Ponte di Aricia. So that's the expression associated with that town.
Yes, and so that's, you think of a Roman aqueduct bridge, that's what that looks like, just straight down sheer walls, absolutely. And you run across it as soon as you get into town. So Nemi is a small town. It's a beautiful town to visit for the day, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for an overnight stay. It's that small. It's got a population of about 1,800.
Right.
You can see everything in a day. It's got Roman roots. It was a sacred spot for the goddess Diana. And it's just a beautiful place with flower boxes and panoramic views over the lake, family shops. It's about 19 miles southeast of Rome. And so it's not a far trip. So their strawberry festival began in 1922. So it's got 100 years on it. And it was created to celebrate their centuries old tradition of growing strawberries and that showcase of the area. And one of my favorite things about this festival is that the local ladies dress as fragolare. This is a traditional Nemi costume. It's a red skirt, a white blouse, and a black bodice. And they parade through the village carrying the baskets of strawberries and offering them to visitors. This is always held on the first Sunday of June. And I love Nemi. You can get strawberries there all throughout the summer. You don't have to visit on the first Sunday of June. They also have some greenhouses where they cultivate the strawberries. But you're looking at strawberry wine, strawberry liqueur, folk music, and marching bands. They also have a flower competition throughout the village. So it's a big flower festival as well as historic parades and performances and concerts and fireworks. So it's not just coming in town for the strawberries, but just to enjoy the town. Like I said, it's most celebrative.
Yeah, and also for anyone interested in wine who want to bring that into a day trip out there, that's Lazio, which is the region where Rome is located. The Castelli Romani is one of the areas that makes the better wine some of the better wine in the region. So you can pair it up with a winery visit, for example.
Absolutely. And there's actually a very famous wine festival in the Castelli Romani where the wine flows from the fountains. That's also a chapter in my Rome book. So yeah, there's a lot of wine to be had. And if you're going to go into the Castelli Romani, like I said, you only need a few hours at Nemi. You can visit several of the towns. They're close together and close to Rome. So our next town is Aricia, another one of the Castelli Romani, and it's another Roman Empire town. It was part of the Via Appia, which is a very important road. So it was a stop on the Via Appia on the way into the Roman Empire and the Roman Republic. And it's very close to Nemi, so you can certainly do them both on the same day. One other thing that Aricia is famous for, besides the bridge, the ponte that we talked about, is the Palazzo Chigi, which was designed in part by John Lorenzo Bernini, a very famous architect in the 17th century in Rome. And so it's got some sights to see as well as the porchetta, which is its famous food. The Sagra del Porchetta happens each year, usually the first weekend of September. And porchetta is pork. And it's actually been celebrated or been eaten since Roman times. So in Roman times, whole pigs were seasoned with garlic and rosemary and black pepper and wild herbs and then roasted until the skin turned crisp. And Aricia became famous for this because they pound the pork flat and they roll the spices into the pork.
So even if you buy it in Rome, it usually comes from Aricia, this sliced. And then it's about this round. And then they slice it and you put it in a hard roll, Roman crusty bread and just eat it. It's delicious. I love it.
Yes. And it actually has IGP protection. You'll hear wines or IGP doc, a type of protection from the European Union for these specialty foods. And so porchetta of Aricia is protected under the international rules. You can't just make it anywhere. It has to come from here. The festival's been celebrated for about 70 years. Again, it's the delicious pork. It's the local Castelli Romani wines, folk music bands, costumed parades, and historical reenactments. So there's a lot to do at the festival, and it's just a beautiful way to see the town at its most vibrant, certainly.
Yeah. And then how about north of Rome? Some of your favorites.
Okay.
Going up towards Viterbo, is there one that you particularly love?
For me, Viterbo is all about the Machina of Santa Rosa. The Machina is a giant float, I will say, that is carried by the men of Viterbo. It moves around town. It weighs a ton. They practice to carry it. It's a very big honor in the town of Viterbo to be a part of.
It's carnivalic stuff.
Yeah, it's 3 stories tall. It changes every year, and it's just a beautiful festival. That one is very crowded. When you see that float moving around, the piazza is just filled with people, but it's 3 stories tall, so you can see it from anywhere in the area. So that's probably my north of Rome favorite, certainly, and most famous. Yeah. That's a celebration of St. Rose.
When you come to Rome, you'll have to explore maybe out in my area and a few other places. But yeah, as you say, some of even the smaller ones are often more enjoyable than these bigger.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, especially if you're not really into the crowds. Of course, for the bigger festivals, you have to really book hotels ahead and things like that. But for the small ones, you just go to town for the day and then you go back to Rome and sleep at night. So yeah, very easy to organize.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we're heading north next because Umbria and the hilltop town of Perugia Perugia is known for its medieval streets and its panoramic terraces. It's very much a hilltop town. It's also a university town, so it's got a young vibe to it, and it is famous for its chocolate. And Perugia's chocolate is Perugina. And that's a chocolate company established in 1907. And they make the baci, which are kisses, the little chocolate balls that have the hazelnut filling.
Blue tinfoil.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And so the town is famous for chocolate. And of course, they started the Euro Chocolate Festival to celebrate their chocolate. And I think chocolate's interesting because if you go to Sicily, they'll say Modica is the capital of chocolate. If you go to Piedmont, they'll say Torino is the capital of chocolate. But of course, Perugia claims its fame for being the capital of chocolate as well.
Modica, though, is really the original kind of chocolate place. And Modica chocolate is unrefined, unprocessed chocolate. And then when you get up near in the north and Piedmont, that's where they're adding the hazelnuts into it when there was a shortage of chocolate, and they blend that in and you have the spreadable chocolate. So it's all different interpretations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, in Torino, they claim to have made that chocolate also for the kings of Savoy, the House of Savoy. So because at one point Torino was obviously the capital of Italy. And so this chapter for the Euro Chocolate Festival is in my Umbria travel guide. And of course, this is held late October, early November, because if you held it during the summer, all the chocolate would melt. They do giant chocolate sculptures. They've got chocolate tastings, live demonstrations from pastry chefs and chocolatiers, baci exhibits, because baci is their famous chocolate. They've got cooking workshops and chocolate cocktails and evening concerts and cultural events. So again, it's more than just about the chocolate. It's just a fun way to visit the city and see the sights, but also experience.
You mentioned Torino, and Torino also has the Euro Chocolate Festival.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
yes.
Every October they have it. Italians love chocolate. Who doesn't?
We've been to Torino, but I haven't been to any of the festivals there. So again, the Piedmont book will be in the future, and I'm sure they've got something related to hazelnuts there, because they're so celebrated for the hazelnuts in that area, Alba, Asti, Bra, in that area. Of course, wine as well.
Alba, if you go in the fall, it's the White Truffle Festival.
True. Yes, that's true. The truffle festivals throughout Italy, yes, are very celebrated.
How about any other truffle festivals?
There are truffle festivals also in Umbria. Umbria is very famous for its truffles. And I joke that when you go to Umbria, it seems like there's truffles in everything that you get there. Yeah. So that's another area big for truffles, definitely. Yeah.
So what's your next book going to be?
Tuscany. Yeah. So we'll spend a few weeks visiting some festivals so I can get photographs and visit all the towns that are in my book for Tuscany.
You didn't do Tuscany as one of your... How did you choose the ones you've done so far? What made you pick them?
Yeah. Sicily, obviously, we went there first with the Inferiorata. And once I did that and experienced trying to organize myself for that, I decided that I was going to have to write this down for other people. So that Sicily book was first after we went on that trip. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I wrote a 900-page book. And I just was writing it in Word. I had no clue. And once I put it all together, Amazon will not print more than 550 pages. So that has to be my max. And
these are not short books. I'm looking at
550 probably. Yeah, I'm right up against the limit.
It's a little bit over 500 too.
Yeah. So, for example, there's so many festivals in Sicily that I had to drop that I could do a volume 2. So then, of course, you've got Rome. I wanted to focus on Rome because of the Jubilee year. We were obviously going to be there for a lot of the Jubilee celebrations last year in 2025. I knew that we wanted to get to Umbria and do that book. We'd been to Puglia, and I visited some friends in Puglia. We had a really great time. So yeah, it's not a north to south. It really is just places where I have a lot of passion for. I have a lot of passion for Emilia Romagna. It will certainly come up soon. Naples and the Amalfi Coast. Yeah. So it takes about a year for each book to get it written and get it together. And so I think I have 13 more years of writing before I get through all 20 regions. But I would think that some of the smaller regions, maybe Friuli, Venezia, Giulia, I think there'd be some smaller books. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. But I always find so many festivals that I end up with all the chapters, and you have to have the same information. So, yeah.
And so, Katerina, you also have as part of your business, just so people can listen and find out about these activities and these books, you have your own podcast.
Yeah, it's called Immersion Travel Italy. It's also a YouTube channel because sometimes people want to see the festivals. And so each podcast has an associated video with some of the pictures and videos from the festivals, things like that. So yeah, just this past weekend I saw was the Festa dell'Ascenza in Venice. That's the Ascension Festival. We've been there for that. So I try and do a podcast for each of the festivals that we visit just to share them and their traditions with folks. So I can hopefully get somebody to include some of the festivals in their travels when they're in it.
Yeah, that's great.
I have to mention at least one wine fest because obviously wine festivals are important. And one of my favorite ones is on Lake Garda. I love Lake Garda. I know everybody loves Lake Como. My favorite is Lake Garda.
I love it too.
And yeah, it's so stunning and incredible geography with the mountains. And Bardolino is a town on Lake Garda that's famous for its wine fest. It's called the Festa dell'Uva e del Vino, so the grape and the wine. And Verona is probably the bigger town that you might know. This is about 20 miles, 30 kilometers from Verona. And one of the things I love about some of the towns of the lake, especially when you get to the southeast side of the lake, is they were a part of the Scaligieri family. So they've got these incredible, beautiful fortresses right on the water. But then they were also part of the Republic of Venice, along with Verona, so that you can see some Venetian architecture, those special lace windows from the Venetian side of things. And Bardolino's festival, it's a celebration of the grape harvest, which in Italy is called the Vendemmia. And so it's honoring those local wines around Lake Garda. Each of these lakes has a unique climate. And so their wines are special. And so this is one of the regions I wanted to mention. They've got Bardolino Classic, Chiaretta Rosé, and some sparkling wine, sparkling spumante. So if you want to walk around this beautiful town, views of the lake, wine in your hand, you're going the end of September, first week of October for this festival. And this festival is part of my Venice and the Veneto book. So I at least want to mention one of the
nice.
festivals.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know a lot of people will go around in a boat on Lake Garda and go from winery to winery.
Yes.
To experience the lake and the wineries as well. So fun. So your Veneto book is out or it's...
Yes, it's out. Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
gosh.
yes.
I'll have to look at that because I write a lot about and talk a lot about Venice and Veneto. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Venice is the most famous town of the Veneto, but Verona is also spectacular. Treviso. There are so many small towns that you can get to if you're in Venice for a week and you want to get away from the crowds, which is one of my favorite things to do. Treviso is a quick 30-minute train ride away. And so, yeah, there's a lot of towns I think people should experience, not just Rome, Venice, Florence when they're in Italy. So, yeah.
So listeners, this episode is coming out first as an audio podcast. But then the following Saturday, it's on YouTube. So if you're listening and you think, oh, I wonder what Katerina looks like, and maybe see a few pictures, then go to the YouTube and you'll be able to see and almost meet Katerina. And I'll include the links to Katerina's website and her video podcast and her Instagram profile as well. So everyone,
thank you.
Get your hands on these books. They're wonderful. Just look how thick they are. They're just filled with information. And the one on Rome is even bigger. And from what you say, the Sicily one was enormous. Yeah. Enjoy these, everyone. And Katerina, thank you so much. This has been great. This has been Flavor of Italy. Find us on www.flavorofitaly.com and on Substack, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, always as Flavor of Italy.